of course, I wanted to segue into a fun topic with two gaming dads. Gary, I still miss you and I love you. But Greg, you get to fill in for Gary Witta today. Yeah. And, last week you posted a really fun one. You and your son shared an awesome gaming moment. You beat your first level of Mario together, and I thought that was really cute. And you kind of wanted to have a conversation. Of course, Paris has his family. They've had gaming moments. I've had great gaming moments with my mother. So I wanted to talk about, gaming moments with the family and more specifically your kid.
Sure, yeah. What I always talk about with gaming and kids and all these different things, right, is that before I even met Jen, I'm fairly certain. Maybe we had already been married. I forget. But like Jen's what turned me around on having kids, right? First date, she mentioned it, and I was like, yes, it's the whole thing. And it was that maybe it was Destiny 2's launch. Donald Mustard, formerly of Epic Games, formerly of Fortnite and all that, had posted on Instagram or on Twitter that him and the boys were so excited that in the basement they had quad flat screens on the TV, and one was running college football on Saturday, and the other three was running Destiny, and they were playing it. And I was like, that is an amazing thing that I can't wait to one day get to. And we haven't had like a plan for introducing Ben to video games. Like that hasn't been a thing. Again, Ben, my son, he's 2.5 years old. So it hasn't been like, oh, we're going to wait till this age or do this thing and blah, 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 blah. And, throughout these 2 years, I've shown him a game here or there or whatever. And, he originally got super into Hot Wheels Unleashed 2, where he loves his Hot Wheels. So it was like, well, look, some of your Hot Wheels are in this game. And that game is great because you could turn on every one of the assists where all I have to do is hit R2 and then it will go. And he maneuvers it a bit and he can screw it up as he often did and get him off. But it's like that. He was happy doing that for a long time. And then when I showed him Forza, that's when he really wanted to play, and there's no assist there. So I would drive him out of the starting, festival area just into the open world and then let him go. And Forza, again, being, this sounds goofy probably, but such an easy control scheme compared to Hot Wheels, because Hot Wheels has turbo and it has the, checks left and right and stuff like this. This being, you move him with this, which he already knew. You R2 is gas, which he picked up on, and then L2 is reverse, which he picks up on because, of course, the Kind of Funny crew bought him that Jeep for his birthday.
Yes.
And so he knows that little shit. He drives that thing by himself now, where he shifts. He knows when he needs to shift it to reverse and go. So once he did that with Forza, it was like, holy shit! Like, wait a second, like he's actually playing Forza, and he when he wants to do a donut, he does a donut, and when he wants to avoid stuff and smash stuff, and he sees the sandstorm and he goes into the sandstorm and then tells me he's in the sandstorm. It's amazing, right? But that had been happening, and so then it became like, well, shit, like what else could we do with this? And he wanted to play a different video game, but he didn't know what he wanted. And I was like, you want to play Mario? And because when Mario Wonder originally dropped, I was home that day from work taking care of him. And so we went into the basement and he watched me play like 2 levels. And I have videos of him going like, wahoo. Like I kept doing it, and then he started mimicking me. But he never showed he didn't understand what really was happening, I think. So when this seed started to sprout this past weekend, it was like, okay. And like, I'm like, well, how am I going to do this? And like, I, of course, defaulted to go get a Pro Controller. I'm like, no, wait, he's a baby. So I went over to the Switch and popped off the Joy-Cons and turned them to the side and, started them as player 1 and 2, gave it to him and logged him in as Mario. And then, yeah, you saw a video for our close friends that was him going and being able to move Mario and pick that up and then jump and then learn to jump. And then, yeah, we went through the entire level and got to the flagpole, right? And then it's like, you say his first, he's completed now dozens, right? Because we just keep going and playing. And like, don't get me wrong, like he's still 2.5. So there are like the underwater levels. I'm asking him to speak Greek. I'm like, tap, 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 tap. And he's like just tapping A2 slowly, right? So he's not rising or whatever. So I have to do that for him. And we quickly defaulted to the stuff we had already done to redo and just run because he's not worried about getting these wonder seeds like I am. But yeah, it was this amazing thing of like, wow, we're already here. And again, I'm shocked every day by how much more of a person he is and what he learned from the previous day and how, what like all these things. And again, the power wheel he's driving, the fact that now he can just drive the power wheel is insane. And then the fact that he could understand Forza is insane. So it's all these different pieces, but now suddenly to be playing games with him, it's like, wow, that's such a crazy feeling, Mike.
I bet, Greg. I can't comprehend it because, as with my children, I've just put them in front of the TV screen. We've been watching One Piece. We've been playing games since just day one. It's like that. But yeah, Paris, I think of memories with my mom, but really for me back in the day, we didn't have games on the phone. It wasn't relevant that. So it's like we kind of slow started with the arcade, and then Cousin Peter came over with the Sega one day, and we all kind of looked at each other like, whoa, what is this Aladdin video game? And then Grandma getting us a PlayStation 1 for Christmas a long time ago, and that's how it kind of steamrolled. But it is wild to think about, like, people are going to have moments like that with you, Greg, where we're on the couch now and we can just kind of start playing out of nowhere.
I almost shot you a text, Paris, because I remember how you had been stumping for the Xbox Family Plan or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it was like that. I wanted an update on all of that because I was like, do I need to create Ben an Xbox Live account? That way I can go play Forza with him. And I was like, that might be a bit far because, again, he's just going to want to spin and I'm going to get the itch to go do a race or whatever. Because even in Mario, sometimes I'm like, all right, come here. Well, all right, you're a ghost now. Come to me. I got to touch you.
But that day is coming, though. You will 100% do that. That's what, since you bring up the family plan, that's why I want it, because I'm in a house where 4 of us game and we play, and the gymnastics that I have to pull off to make that happen sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, to the point now, my oldest daughter, she just has her own subscription and account and everything that she does. But with my son, I play that dance of kind of, managing it, the back and forth. And my middle daughter, or my youngest daughter, I should say, she's been leaning more into playing on Nintendo stuff. Like, ironically enough, you bring up all these stories. She picked up Zelda on her own without me suggesting it, saying it, anything, and really started diving into that on her own. And then she has her Fortnite crew, but she just does that, playing off of the Switch as well. But it's interesting to see, you only have Ben, but when you have multiple kids and to see the things that they will gravitate towards and what they enjoy. I think my son, just obviously we're the only 2 guys in the house. He just kind of gravitates to the things that I play. But watching my oldest daughter, and I've talked about this on Xcast before, Mike, where giving her Game Pass and just seeing all the different things that she's just discovered on her own has always been fascinating to me. And even her in her early days, she started off on Minecraft. That was kind of her big thing that really got her into gaming. But it's been fascinating to see what has been the thing that gets them into gaming. And I've never truly just tried to push it on them. They just obviously see me all the time and discover it on their own. But You'll have some stories, Greg, for sure. It'll be interesting to see Ben as he gets older, what he jumps into.
It's a fascinating discussion because I remember like when Diablo 4 first launched and Jen was obsessed with it and I'm obsessed with it. We're going down every night after putting Ben to sleep. And I forget at what point, how many weeks in, where I was just like, do you understand that it took, 9 years or 7 years, 10 years? I forget what it was, from Diablo 3 to 4. And I'm like, so theoretically, when Diablo 5 drops, Ben will play with us. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reality where we're grinding as a family down here. I was like, that's amazing. That's exactly what I want.
Yeah, Paris brings up the interest of his kids and all the differences. I find it so cool and fascinating of, man, I'd love to have the Xbox Game Pass family app, almost like Netflix, where it's like, let me click on Mom's account. What are you interested in, Mom? Like, what's my little brother playing? Oh, I want to see that because, it is cool to see what they gravitate towards and what's going on.
This episode is brought to you by Shady Rays. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends over at Shady Rays have you covered with premium, polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers an unrivaled product that's just as good as any expensive pair that I've ever worn. Durable frames and world-class optics for all outdoor adventures. With an extensive array of styles and colors, you're bound to find the perfect pair of Shady Rays sunglasses. Y'all know I've been outside in the sun a lot playing Pokemon Go. GoFest is next week, and I'm going to be wearing my Shady Rays. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost or broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. But exclusively for y'all, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal. You can head to shadyrays.com and use code KINDAFUNNY for 50% off 2 or more pairs of shades. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. shadyrays.com, use code KINDAFUNNY for 50% off 2 or more pairs of shades.
This episode is brought to you by A Better Paradise. From the writers of the Red Dead Redemption and Grand Theft Auto series comes the new immersive audio fiction podcast, A Better Paradise, Volume 1 and Aftermath. Set in the near future, A Better Paradise tells the story of the ill-fated development of an ambitious but addictive digital game world project led by inventor and psychologist Dr. Mark Tyburn. As the advanced software they developed began to deliver unexpected and disturbing results, the team fell apart under strange circumstances and the project was abandoned. The game world and the super intelligence within were discarded, left dormant and undiscovered. Until now. I listened to episode 1 on my way to work today, and the thing that stood out, of course, are the performances, but then as an audio drama fan, it was the use of monologues. There's a whole bunch of talking here as it sets up the world that is not that far from us in the timeline and also not that far from us in the technology, which is disturbing, but I'm quite interested to see where it goes. A Better Paradise is out now and available everywhere you get your podcasts. Go listen today, and don't forget to follow A Better Paradise on your platform of choice to make sure you never miss an episode.
Paris, do you have any gaming memories with the kids like that where it is their first level ever and you're guiding them through them together?
Well, and I've talked about this before. It is just fresh in my head, but it's just my son with Destiny. That would probably be the main where he went from just sitting in the chair off, just watching me to, hey, can I try it? And giving him the controller and kind of walking him through. And then next thing I know, I'm buying him his own console and we're raiding together and doing all this other crazy stuff. But I would say even with my youngest, like I just mentioned, the Zelda stuff, it was kind of her discovering that. And then me just being the voice in the background. Do this, press that, try this, try that, and watching her learn how to actually play that game to the point where it was like, can you leave me alone so I can play? I was like, all right, sorry, I'm out of here. You know what I mean? It's a cool thing. It's a cool feeling to see your kids go from not understanding how to play a video game to then mastering it to the point where they just want you to get the F out of the room and leave them alone. That trust me, Greg, that'll be the best feeling ever when Ben tells you to leave him alone.
Oh, no, I'm stoked about that.
Then you won.
Well, and that was the thing with this where it's like, again, we're very conscious of screen time. Like if you're a parent out there and you're thinking we're horrible people, like there have been, this is an experiment, and there was like, we noticed like had to have a conversation when he didn't want to eat that day. Right? It's like, all right, maybe we don't do, because he's usually the cartoons in the morning. And then it's been the thing of, it used to be like a treat where he'd eat in front of the TV, and he started doing it more. And then we started going back the other way. And it was an uphill swing to be like, all right, no, you got to understand the relationship of what you're doing here. And so like, there was a moment where I needed to go help Jen in the kitchen, so I did walk away, and he got to play on Forza by himself for, 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it was, and it was like, wow, this is so crazy to look out of my kitchen into the living room and see him playing games, right? And me wanting to be there playing games, and usually that's where I am as well. So, like, this mix of it and what it will become, and I think that's another thing that's so fascinating for it, is that to look back, and again, I'm way ahead of myself in terms of what Ben will be into, right? Like already he is a sports obsessed kid. He is a car obsessed kid. He loves the Ford Bronco to the point that yesterday, Mike, for cartoons, we watched a 15-minute review of a Ford Bronco.
Sick.
By like basically sick. Like the Ryan McCaffrey as is to Tesla, this guy is to the Ford Bronco or whatever. So like he was making jokes in there and Ben's just like in it. And then we saw like 5 different Broncos walking through the neighborhood. Anyways, I digress. He's into cars, he's into baseball, he's into sports. I don't know where he'll be, but it's like, I know that how I'm supporting and playing with Mario is how I want to do all of that, right? Where it's like, I remember, and this is no shade at my parents whatsoever, because video games were such a different thing, and of course we're brand new to them, right? I remember how much I wanted them to play games with me. And I remember how you'd have to be like, Mom, please play. And she's like, okay. And then she go, what am I doing? How do I do it? What? I remember, like, I still have, you were talking about vivid memories. I, of course, had a Sega Master System because I always make the wrong choice. And I remember when one of my dad's friends from work, another, big burly construction worker, came over for, I'm sure, beers and a barbecue, but for me, it was just dad's friends coming to dinner. And I remember when I was playing the Sega Master System knockoff Duck Hunt. So not Duck Hunt, but the one that was the Sega Master System version with the blaster. He came through the room and like got on the floor. And like, I like vividly remember him like with the gun playing, and my parents like watching him play with me and like, but he wasn't like playing with me. He was playing. And I was like so fucking impressed that an adult was playing games better than me. You know what I mean? Like trying to game the system. Like how close to the TV do I need to be and all this stuff. I was like, that's awesome. So now to jump and it's like when Ben's like asking, like he's putting me out. Can I play video games? Like, yeah, hell yeah, we can play video games. Let's go. And like last night, you know, we occasionally do movie night where it is like usually TV is maybe an hour in the morning, then at 5, maybe 30 minutes while Jen and I make dinner or whatever it's going to be. And then sometimes we'll do a movie night. It's been a holiday weekend, of course. So he had his first viewing of the Aristocats, a Disney flick from the 70s. I'm not super versed in. Jen was. Great songs in there, I'll tell you right now. Little racist, but they put a warning in the beginning of it. Like most Disney films, I'm sure, from back then. I don't watch many of I watch more of the Pixar variety, but whatever. The next 2 nights later when we did another movie night, it was like, let's watch a new movie. And we went through the Disney library and I'm like, what about this one? What about that one? No. And I was like, and it was like, you know, after a weekend of Mario, I was like, what about the Super Mario movie? And he's like, and like, so we put that on. It's run in the background before, and he never really connected with it. This time he was dialed in.
Yeah.
I sent another video to Tim of him just like dialed in watching this. And is that movie a little too scary for a 2.5-year-old? Maybe. You know, now that he's actually watching it, Dry Bone's a bit terrifying. What are they doing to Luigi? I'm like, he's gonna be fine. Mario's gonna save him. It's fine. But it was like, it's a very awesome to, I think, be as interested in his interests. And of course, our jobs allow us to constantly be a kid. And so I'm super excited to see what that turns into as he finds his own passions.
Yeah, that's what's exciting whenever I talk with you two and of course Gary is you guys are the next generation of parents with these kids where you've played the games. You can now guide them. Sure. I think of my mom and dad, right, where it's like, oh no, we never had video games. And mom really tried her best, right? Like I brought up the story on the Xcast where she stayed up all night playing Gauntlet Legends 64 with us, which I'll never forget. When we played Lara Croft Tomb Raider, we built that bond of I would get stuck and she would call the helpline and stay on hold for minutes, hours, just to have somebody tell us, oh, to find the idol, you got to go past the tigers and take a hard left, right? Like mom did a lot for me in my gaming, from setting up the internet for WoW, waiting in line to get the Xbox 360 for me and my little brother. It was a lot of fun moments, but we never had the, hey, I'm with you all the time. Let me be your guide, or let's play together. I never looked at my mom and said, hey, sit down and play this. And I think she's always supported me on that. The one thing she didn't support, though, because it did happen in WWE Money in the Bank, I want to bring this up, of course. Me and Jackson never got along well with WWE video games, and we actually had cable television and all wrestling removed because Jackson did strangle me with an N64 cord once, just like CM Punk did to Drew McIntyre, because I was cheating and I wouldn't let him stand up off of the mat, and I would just spam X in front of him and punch him. And Jackson did wrap that cord around my neck, and we quickly never got to watch wrestling. All cable TV was taken for all the formative years. So, yeah, I'll never forget that. And you know what? Mom acted swiftly and decisively on that one. So
wrestling's the big one, man, where I just don't know when I'm able to, because even now, like Ben still hits. Yeah, you know, he's a toddler. He's a 2.5-year-old, right? So like sometimes the emotions or whatever, or he thinks he's playing, and it's like, no. So it's like his favorite game that only dad plays is Tortilla. Which is where dad lays on the ground with a pillow on his belly, and then Ben yells tortilla and jumps on me. Where he learned tortilla, I don't know. It just was one day he wanted to play tortilla. I'm like, what is tortilla? Maybe he made it up on the spot. So it is like, I don't know when I get to introduce him to wrestling. I will continue to introduce moves, and we'll go from there.
So when you guys talk about introducing games now, right, is it just, oh, he's fascinated by cars, hey, let me show you Hot Wheels, oh, you like Mario, well, let's play a Mario game? How is this going to go for you, Greg?
That's my plan, and I think
young?
it's what's approachable for him. Again, right, Forza, the racing, no. The open world driving, yeah, of course, that's great. Yeah. Hot Wheels, all these assists, great. Mario with me, okay, and not to mention Mario, not insulting it, you know, from point A to point B, usually pretty basic, right? Yeah. There's things that make it crazier. It's more like we're watching Mario, the movie, last night, and they got to the cars, which he, of course, now, again, he's seen this in the background, but now he's like locked in. And he's like, it's Mario and it's cars. And I was like, Ben, do you know there's a game called Mario Kart where all you do, and his eyes got big, and it's like, that one, I'm like, then in my head, I'm like, you know, unlike your parents who didn't understand, I'm like, all right, so if I put him in Baby Park, That would work. I'm like, it can't be anything with shortcuts. It can't be anything you can fall off. Rainbow Road, you know what I mean? It's like, what can I put at 50cc? Put him here. And I'm like, okay, that might work. That might be fun for him. It's like it's like what we've all been built for, and usually with our friends, right? Of like, oh, this, but it's like you're a sommelier for wine, right? But for video games, of like, he shows a little bit of interest in that. Like, okay, what could we do with that would make it? But trying to think on a toddler level, a child level, let alone the fact of like, I mean, it's crazy to think about now, right? But it's like he's playing and like the first time he gets the fire flower. You know what I mean? Like, wow, okay, so now you hit this button and you can throw fireballs. And he's like doing it. I'm like, all right. And then we're watching the movie and they're in the fire flower field. I'm like, do you remember that flower? He's like, yes. I'm like, fuck, this is weird.
Come on, how cool. Paris, Greg, it's been a great episode. Of course, I love getting to talk about awesome special gaming moments with your kids and family. And of course, the progression of Xbox and Xbox Cloud Gaming. It is exciting to see them come to new platforms with the Amazon Fire Stick. Of course, let us know in the comments down below if you're jumping in on the Fire Stick, what you think so far. We got an awesome review from Paris. We got to talk about cloud gaming in 2024 with Greg and myself, and we want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in to another episode of the Kind of Funny Games Cast.